Getting to the heart of the matter. Back to Guy, Ben, and Frank with more Inside the News.
Welcome back to Inside the News. This is our election trail segment. Guy Wehman here along with Frank Vernuccio. And in the bottom, we've got Ben Brunson. Glad to have you here with us. And let's get right to it here, Frank, with the election trail. The Democrats, they've had their convention this week. And my question is, can the Democrats make Kamala likable? Is she like Hillary 2.0?
I think there's a great deal of resemblance there in many different ways. She's just a bit younger, of course, and she's a minority, so that helps out quite a bit. The problem Democrats have, though, is not just personalities, it's policies. I stood there with pen and paper in hand watching the Democrat convention, the opening night, and what I heard was how much they hate Donald Trump. Well, yeah, we got that. And they pointed out some problems and challenges facing the country. Yeah, we got that. But nowhere in the hours of broadcast did I detect anything resembling a viable solution to any of those challenges. I think for the Democrats to win the hearts and minds of independents, they're going to actually have to propose something other than turning the United States into Venezuela or North Korea as a solution to the problems facing the country. You can't simply win an election by trying to make one segment of the country hate the other segment of the country, which at this point seems to be the very basis of the Democrat Party strategy.
You know, Frank hit on something here, Ben, but also I noticed the lack of enthusiasm going on. This is not like conventions of 4 years ago, 8 years ago, and the every 4 years where you have the big hoopla and the people wearing the goofy hats and you know, and the roll call of the states and things of that nature. This was so pre-produced, and they just shot their video out to people that it just seems so not real in my opinion there, Ben.
Well, intensely boring comes to mind because it was zero energy. No, it was a full-on embrace of the current progressive left-wing racial politics driving what's going on in America. We used to call it identity politics. That's a soft phrase. This is full-on racial politics at this point. And that's the reality. I saw nothing coming out of the DNC convention so far that inspires or is positive or uplifting or has any energy associated with it. You have a lot of speakers who are the same old people or tired old Republicans like John Kasich,
Oh my goodness.
who I guess he might as well join the Democratic Party at this point. It was just all uninspired. You compare this to other conventions where you had a rising star have a coming out party like Barack Obama in several conventions ago, and his famous speech where you heard that speech and you thought, oh boy, this guy could be the future president of the United States. Nothing like that coming out of this convention. The lack of a live audience is going to mitigate not only against the Democrats but the Republicans. But I just don't see the Democratic Party under Joe Biden going anywhere. And as for Kamala Harris, she suffers a lot from what Hillary Clinton suffered from, which is a lack of positive, likable personality. You just can't like Hillary Clinton the way you did Bill Clinton, who is a very likable guy. Kamala does not have any of that characteristic that Bill Clinton had. She is much more like Hillary.
Excellent point there. I go back to when Jimmy Carter in the 1976 convention, and he was delivering his acceptance speech, and the television really played to the crowd. And and he's talking about what I'm going to do. And this is after Gerald Ford of a year and a half or so, trying to heal the nation. And the empathy on the people's faces. Yes, we need this savior. Only that, Ronald Reagan blew him out of the water then. But Frank, Ben hit on a good point. There are no crowds. They can't play to that emotion now. And so they don't even have the fake people in the stands like Major League Baseball.
Well, the problem is not just the lack of crowds. I mean, that's going to face both the Democrats and the Republicans. The problem is the message. Yeah. And the message seems to be that we are a terrible country ruled by terrible people doing terrible things around the world. It's not just a question of a rousing audience. I fail to see how, even with the most enthusiastic audience, that type of message is going to inspire many people. You also, and I have to go back to this point, you have to come up with a solution. If you are running for office, it's not just there to, you're not just there to complain, you're there to offer a vision of how to make things better. You look at the Democrat speeches, you look at the Democrat platform, you look at the leaders of the Democratic Party, there's nothing there in terms of a viable solution. Going to a socialist concept of economics, which has failed miserably wherever it's been tried, saying that people of different colors in this great nation hate each other is not a viable solution to anything. Come on, guys, you can do better than this.
Come on, man. There you go. You know, something is that they don't have the solution. And Frank hit on this, Ben. And you know, Biden says, well, you know, economically, we've got to create an economy. Nobody could have done it better than Donald Trump did it before the COVID deal. And Donald Trump knows business. He's a businessman. He's not a politician. And he wants to get things done, okay? And he's goals, and he finishes the goals, and then he moves on to the next one. And that has been his strength, is that he's been able to see what needs to be done, let's fix it, and gets in there and fixes the problem and gets it done, Ben.
Well, I think you highlight the issue why I expect a significant Trump reelection victory on November 3rd. No one can argue with the fact that Donald Trump had built a great economy. We had an economy firing on all cylinders until COVID came along. Now you have the entire Democratic machine, governors, the whole party trying their damnedest to keep this economy on its knees as long as possible, to make it as bad as possible in order to elect Joe Biden as president and defeat Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to work, despite the best efforts of the Democrats to do so. So this is the battlefield, is why COVID has become purely a political football at this point. The science is being ignored, the science be damned, and we're going to try to shut down the economy. It's not going to work. The economy is more resilient than the Democrats' efforts to destroy it, and I think Donald Trump will reap the dividends from that.
All right, 1 minute on the unions here, Frank.
The big story with unions in the election of 2020 is going to be the dichotomy between what the union leaders want and what the union rank and file wants. Union leadership will go Democratic. They will endorse the Biden-Kamala Harris ticket. But union rank and file is going to look at what President did in bringing back jobs from China, sparking the economy, creating more employment, particularly for minorities. There's never been lower black unemployment than under Donald Trump. Union leaders will do what they do for their own personal careers and their own personal benefit. Union rank and file will go the opposite way.
All right, this is Inside the News. Thank you so much for joining us, and you're watching us on aun-tv.com. Glad to have them on board. YouTube, SoundCloud, and our affiliates across the country. We have to take a time out. We're going to be back. Are the polls even correct, or even the polls manipulated? We're going to talk about that. We'll be back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.